G'day ladies and gents, and welcome to, you will never believe it, but some actual Spitfire gameplay. That's right. I'm going to be flying the bloody Spitfire because it's the best plane in the world, and it won the war, and it's the best plane of all time. We all know that. That's an undisputable fact. Even though the P-51 won the war, we all know that. We it's documented on the History Channel. We all know. The Spitfire is also the best plane, and it also won the war. So, you know. Oh boy. Well, the LF Mark 9. LF meaning low altitude fighter, but for some reason climbs like a boss. You know what? I'm not even going to complain. This Spitfire is well known in War Thunder for its climbability. It climbs at something like 27 or somewhere between like 25 and 30 meters per second. It is insane. It's one of the best climbing props at its tier. And in fact, it is extremely close to the Reggiane 2005. In fact, so close that it is often compared to the Reggiane. I think the Spitfire Mark 9 is worse though. And hear me out. There's a little thing called wing-mounted guns and Hispanos. Both of these being probably the worst guns in the game. On wing mounts, you also lack the ability to, easily converge multiple on the same surface because you're constantly closing in on an enemy, and that results in often the shells hitting other places of the plane that you kind of don't want them to hit. On top of that, Hispanos have really garbage damage output. For some reason, they just, on props, when you have two, they just don't seem to be able to do the damage. When you have four, yeah, maybe. And on jets, early on, it's really nice, like, the meteors, because they're in a nice little square on the front of the nose. And on the Vampire, they're in a nice little line underneath, and on the Venom as well. But as you get higher and higher, you'll notice that Hispanos tend to die off a little bit. And I feel like this is the case just sort of across the board. Hispanos don't really put out the damage that I don't know, I don't really expect them to, because I don't really know how much damage they put out IRL. But realistically, if we look at the way the Spitfire performs, does it really make up for that crazy plane performance and crappy gun performance? Well, we'll see kind of in this video roughly why I think it doesn't. And for one reason being that the 50 cals also make up for part of that. I'm not saying the 50 cals are bad, I'm saying the 50 cals are the good part of the armament. And that says a lot. I mean, they are 50 cals, but this particular plane lacks one thing that I think the Reggiane excels in, and that is endurance. You'll see exactly what I mean as this match pans out, but as you can see, I'm a plane that, turns quite well. The Spitfire is well known for its turning capabilities, and in fact, a lot of people will avoid engaging Spitfires because they turn really well. And you don't want to get into a dogfight with a plane that can outturn you, because they'll just cut inside you, shoot you down, or damage you to the point where you're not even going to make it back to base. But we can see here, in this match, what we're going to do is continue climbing. I'm climbing at about 200, 250 kilometers an hour, somewhere along that line, and a PB-4Y manages to shoot down a Dornier 335. Oh boy, that's kind of embarrassing. I've done it before, and I swear, man, you have to be so lucky. You just knock that pilot and off it goes. But you have to be really, really precise. And you kind of have to be precise in the Spitfire too. That's something that, in my opinion, the Reggiane doesn't have to be, because it gets enough ammunition to sort of, not quite spray, but be a little bit more liberal. With the Spitfire, you kind of have to pick your shots and be really choosy as to which shots you take and which ones you don't. A lot of people will, in fact, compare the Spitfire, the F Mark 9, and the LF Mark 9 to things like the G55. And I think the F Mark 9 and the G55S compare somewhat well. I think the G55S is superior because it has the better guns, and as a result, I also think the Reggiane 2005 is superior because it has superior guns to the LF Mark 9. Now, you can hang me all you want over that, but honestly, Hispanos are not the best guns, and should they really be buffed? I'd like you to let me know in the comment section below. I really want to know your thoughts, because for me, Hispanos on props are really, really shit. They're absolutely awful, and I don't really see why you should even bother sometimes. The planes that have 4 Hispanos, they're reasonably good, but at the same time, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it's an issue with me. Maybe I need to learn and I need to get good, because I do fairly well in this match, and you can see I'm trying to save again this bomber. The bomber's not going to live though, because hungry hippos always want to go for the big, juicy, fat watermelon that is the B-17. Everyone's seen that little clip of the hippopotamus absolutely devouring a watermelon. It's very cute, but it's not very cute when your friendly B-17 gets shot down. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit above this BF-109, and you can see exactly what you do with an altitude advantage. You see, this BF-109 is going to go vertical for me, but remember, the Spitfire is a turn-fighting plane. It is a lightweight plane, and it has a lighter wing loading than the BF-109, meaning that its stall characteristics are a lot better. You can see that I've managed to do a sort of rope-a-dope with this BF-109, and it's a G14, so it's kind of chonky compared to something like a G2. I managed to go all the way down on it and absolutely smash it, smashing out the fuel tank behind the pilot. And I tend to sort of aim for the center of the fuselage on, pretty much anything, to be honest, because especially with German planes, that is where the fuel tank is in most cases. Alternatively, I might hit the engine, which is in front of it, or the fuel tanks, which is next to it. And in this case, I'm going to blow the enemy Focke-Wulf, clean apart. The guns seem to be performing okay, but I'm getting really easy targets. These targets I can get a lot of gun time on, and that's what you sort of rely on in this Spitfire. I'm not really sure at this point if it's an awful thing or a thing that you need to learn in this Spitfire in order for it to be a plane that you can play to some magnitude or some sort of efficiency. Now, you can see I went to go for the 109 and I switched targets. This is for one very specific reason. Always go for the plane at the back of the conga line. The reason is, if I were to go for that BF-109, then the 190 would slot in behind me and take me out. Instead, I slot in behind the 190, take him out, and then a friendly finishes off the BF-109. I have a 190 to go head on with, and I'm not really going to. I'm going to go cheeky little pseudo head on, pull off at the last minute. You don't want to go head on in this plane. Its frontal armament is pretty much garbage, and you can see that the F-82 is the one that is going to go head on with the 190, and that thing has 14 M3 Brownings. So, I'm not really going to blame him, but at the same time, you risk throwing your plane away if you push head-ons like that. You can see that he's going to go down. I'm going to leave him because I'm a nice person. I like my teammates, and I want them to grind out as well as myself. Especially as you go on late to the game and come in and you have all these vehicles. I don't need to grind anymore for the British. I have all the planes. So, what? I would have liked that kill, but he did the hard work. He set him on fire. He's going into the ground. I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to be the arsehole. I would recommend everyone does the same, even if you've got stuff to grind, because if you do it for someone, the chances are that they'll do it back for you, and respect that increases quite significantly. Anyway, BF-109s are interesting, but what is kind of crazy is a 190D. The 190D is a bit better than the 190A because it's got more engine power, but it doesn't quite turn as well. And honestly, it doesn't really matter in the eyes of a Spitfire, because you can see now that I'm almost out of cannon, and I will in fact go out of cannon, the 50 cals are the ones that do the work. I honestly think that this plane would be better with 4 50 cals than 2 Hispanos 250 cals. And I don't know. I don't think that was a real configuration. I don't know for sure. Someone can let me know in the comments. But you can see that the 50 cals seem to be the one doing the work. And this is the greatest weakness of the Spitfire. It just has really crappy armament. It's not like the Hispanos are, maybe they are awful cannons. I think they are. But it's not like the MG151s where you can literally 2 cannons, 2 shells, and it's completely dead. Or even 1 if it's well placed. It's not like the A&M3s or A&M2s where you can just absolutely shotgun an enemy to death. And it's not like the 50 cals where you can just laser them out. The Hispanos are, in my opinion, some of the worst cannons in the game. I would probably rank them even below the Japanese cannons, because at least the Japanese guns do the same, do some sort of damage that seems appropriate. It could also be that I'm having to run stealth belts because there's a dedicated trace around. That might be a factor. If there's a way for me personally to get better at Hispanos that you can see that I need to improve, let me know in the comments because I want to know. I want to be able to get better, and then maybe I can make a video in the future and show you guys how to do exactly that. The thing is, with a YouTube channel, I'm just a regular guy. I make my own mistakes, I put my opinion out there, and everyone that comments does the exact same thing. So, you can put your opinion out there. Let me know if there is actually something that I need to do, because if I can, learn something new, then imagine what I can do 3 months' time where I've mastered a technique and now I can show everyone on YouTube to 25,000 people. But anyway, here is the major problem with the Spitfire again. It's endurance. It doesn't have much ammunition, so you can't really spray. You have to be selective with your shots. The fuel consumption on this Merlin engine is astounding. I'm almost out of fuel, and I've taken, I think, 15 or 20 minutes. I'm almost out, and we've only been in the air for 10 minutes. The plane is not entirely, it's not durable at all, to be honest. You take a couple of MG151s and you're practically screwed. You take any much as a scratch, and you're not really in a position to dogfight as much as you thought you might. The plane relies on getting above your enemies, and whilst it can do that with that incredible climb rate, if you have something like a TAR 152 harassing you, or an allied team that just falls apart in front of your eyes, then there's not a whole lot that you can really do. Obviously, the teams is a bit of a player base issue, so you can fix that up by squatting up with a couple of people that you might feel are confident at the game and are good enough to help you out. Now, as you can see, the last guy on the enemy team that is potential, this could be my ace. I've done astoundingly well because I've managed to catch the Germans turn fighting, which is exactly where the Spitfire shines. There's no, there's no secret in that. But the armament here is, I have less than 100 rounds. I have barely any ammunition, and it's going to give me an oil leak. Oh man, if only. Now, from what I understand, the same engine that is on the 288 is the engine, or the, paired engines that are on the Heinkel 177. And the 177 had a little bit of a thing where it liked to catch on fire with oil leaks. Now, Gaijin, please, so I can have my kill. Nah, not really. Honestly, that would be really frustrating. Let's not have that in the game. But there we go. I don't manage to get my ace because the guns, again, and the endurance fails me. This is where the Spitfire lacks. And it's not necessarily because it's a bad plane. You just have to be really careful. You have to be really selective. You also have to work as a team. And that doesn't really happen too often in War Thunder. Whereas, if you have a German Bf-109, you can get 6 kills with a single ammunition loadout quite readily. That's one of the issues with the Spitfire, and that's why players tend to do poorly in it. If you want to get good in the Spitfire, my suggestion would be selective with your shots. Be very careful with what you shoot at and how much you shoot. Watch your ammunition, make sure you don't get hit, and play your plane safely. Just because you turn well doesn't mean you should get into multiple turn fights. Stay above your enemy and make them lose the energy that they so desperately need. A 4K in the Spitfire. Could have been a 5K, but, sometimes it's just not meant to be. The Spitfire is actually a really good plane, and the LF Mark 9 is something that I've been meaning to cover on the channel for a while. And it's a good, fun plane. I genuinely enjoy playing Spitfires. I just don't play them so often because of the allied teams. It's pretty frustrating, and honestly, I kind of wish I could play Spitfires a little bit more and not have to suffer through allied teams. Maybe I should squad more with viewers, which means you should join my Discord, of course, which is in the description below. But until then, take care, and I'll catch you next time.